Hello everybody, welcome to my second ArbidurrJohndice stream ever under my alias under ArbidurrJohndice on Twitch, archiving all my streams to YouTube. I tell you, this intro, if you can call it that, is already a mess because I tell you what, the most nerve-wracking thing about streaming is the wait before you stream. Like, I was just sitting here for 5 minutes anticipating it, and, oh god. But anyway, enough of that aside. Today I am streaming Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild hard mode here. Now, Breath of the Wild is a game that I really enjoyed since it came out, and I'd like to say I've gotten pretty good at it, but I suppose it'll be put to the test, I guess, here. This isn't my first run-through with Master Mode, but I remember dying quite a bit the first time I played. Either way, we'll see how the recording curse fucks me over now. So I was hoping someone would be here to accompany me today as my sanity slowly spirals down the toilet. I was hoping perhaps Andrew, some of you might recall from my old channel, my old shitty channel, that John the King bullshit. Yes, I was hoping he would come along because he also loves this game, as do I. He's like practically the biggest Zelda fan I know. And this really opened both of our eyes to how good Zelda could be. This is probably my favorite game to come out in 2017, and I'd say I'm very happy to be sitting here playing it for you today. Why did I set the stream to full screen? Okay, there we go. I can see chat. I can see everything. Yes, and as I was playing the game, I wrote down some note cards, basically to guide me through a basic playthrough of this game, all 120 shrines. I have a bit of a checklist right here. I have guides to the Sheikah, Veneer, and Venith shrines here, and I mean, I took my time to write all this stuff down and pretty much get to know the game as much as possible when I first played it, and I'm pretty hyped for this playthrough, so without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first moment I was playing this, when I first saw this moment right here, I saw the Sheikah Sleigh, I was thinking, that's going to be a sort of parallel to the Wii U gamepad or the Switch in portable mode, and I knew that was going to be a parallel right from the start. I can't really think of many other comparisons. I'm sure there are some from many games that I've played, but I can't lay my finger on some other games that have done that. Now, if we look in these chests right here, we'll find just tattered clothes and just an old pants, old shirt. Ah, fuck it, buck-ass nude. Okay, so
Hold the Sheikah slate up to the pedestal. That will show you the way.
I remember, I made a video a long time ago, I think it must have been over a year now, where, Andrew and I played this game. Well, Andrew was playing it for the first time, I was basically backseat gaming, like, you can still find it on my old channel. The title is, I believe, Andrew Takes Too Long Playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or something like that. And basically, we made jokes seeing this right here about Breath of the Wild kind of mirroring Metal Gear Solid 5 as you're just waking up from a long coma. And now this is probably the most iconic moment that you might... Yeah, this is probably the most iconic moment for someone who's just playing this game. Like, in their first time, like, they knew it was going to go into this cinematic. It's like what you would see in a trailer, basically. Now, for some reason, when I first saw that old man standing there, I thought of, Dark Nut from, like, the first Zelda one, maybe kind of the Dark Nut or Iron Knuckles from Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker. I don't know why I thought of that the first time I played the game, but if you see me taking a lot of time gathering resources, it's because I'm not too confident in hard mode. This is only, my second time playing through it. I did do a practice run of the Grey Plateau before this, but, better safe than sorry. I'm going to be gathering a lot of shit. So, basically, from the start, we're here to just walk around the Grey Plateau. I mean, sooner than later, like, just... The story does tend to, like, kind of leak in whenever you want it to, but you can pretty much just walk around this plateau until you decide to move on with what Zelda will... Well, spoilers, I know. What Zelda's voice will tell you to do in due time here. So basically, what I like to do is just gather all the beginning resources that I can. Hell, rather it be just a fucking tree branch or anything. Even petty shit like that. I like to gather it because there's a lot of moments, because I'm kind of used to having stuff like the paraglider and more health, because I've been playing the file from my first playthrough quite a bit. I just lost my train of thought. But basically, I like to pick that stuff up, because, like, who knows, maybe it might become useful in a sort of last resort kind of scenario. And I'm not used to fighting without tanking hits, so I'm pretty much going to ignore monsters from the beginning. It's going to be, I'm going to get quite a few heart containers before I actually, like, fully engage a mob of monsters.
Head for the point marked on the map in your Sheikah Sleigh.
Now, as we are hearing here, we just got our first task to basically head to a waypoint, and here we basically have a world map. It's empty now, but in due time it will be full, and we can explore all of this. And it's gigantic. I think it's something like 20 kilometers or something like that. Basically, I think I read somewhere that it's like 8.5 square miles. And that is, like, that kind of doesn't seem too impressive, but you try walking 8 miles and without, like, nonstop, and you'll see. I mean, Either way, basically, I like to head in here. This is the Temple of Time, I guess. It's nowhere near its original location in an Ocarina of Time, but As we see here, we already ran into a monster, which we're going to want to run away from because I can't survive that. Basically, in hard mode, all monsters are leveled up 1 tier. So basically, your tiered monsters like Bokoblins, Moblins, Lizalfos, stuff like that. Like those which are red in the normal game will be blue, which is the next tier up in hard mode. Oh crap, I didn't even notice him there. So yeah, probably you might see me in most points in the game just running away like a little bitch until I get more hearts, because I'm really going to need them. So I think now I'm going to want to advance the plot. So I'm going to go to this point over here. You see this tower. Oh, they see me. I think maybe their overall perception also might be increased, like their overall sense, I suppose. But fuck that, we're doing this. Just put it in the fucking stone, Link. Please watch for falling rocks. It's like a road sign. And now the apocalypse has arrived. Oh wait, the Bokoblins here are still red. They didn't change it for the cutscenes. Yeah. I mean, basically, the puzzles, the locations of different items, all that shit, like, the story, nothing is changed except basically the difficulty via, the tiers of monsters and, other stuff like that. There are a few other kind of additions to Master Mode. I mean, you see those rafts in the distance floating on balloons. That is new to hard mode, because basically these airborne Octoroks basically allow a lot of these. I don't know what they were thinking, those folks over there at Nintendo, but somebody thought floating rafts, and there we go. I think I'll just let the cutscenes play. Normally I'd skip all this shit, but, you know, for the sake of those of you who somehow have not played the game yet and just want all of this ruined for you. I wanted to do a Breath of the Wild live stream for a long time, but I never really gotten the motivation or technology to do it. But now I have the technology to do it, and I finally decided to get up off my ass. But it would have been a lot easier to get up off my ass if I had someone here kind of co-hosting me or something. Either way, what I like to do here is I like to mark all the towers so that I know where they are, because we have no map for them. Basically, what these the purpose of these towers is to fill up the the section of the map for each of these subdivisions. There's 15 of them, including the Grey Plateau, and these towers are how we're going to fill up our map, because we can't just be walking around with no map, just blackness and grid and all that shit. So I'm probably going to fast forward through this shit in the YouTube playback. Yeah, I like to turn on the gyroscope for this, so that I can actually, like, for those towers that are far away, I can reach those more easily and all. See, that Dueling Peaks tower, that's the one we're going to go to first. We can place a total of 5 of these kind of markers that show up on your map. After that, we have to resort to these things called stamps, which don't show up on your mini-map, except when you're in close vicinity to them, to the point where the location itself shows on the mini-map. But like, these stamps can be very useful. I use them a lot to mark shrines and towers, as I'm doing right now. And let me see right here. You see, we have a shrine there, we have a tower there. There are 4 shrines on the Grey Plateau alone, all of which we need to finish in order to kind of branch out from the Grey Plateau. And since I'm not really, since I have nothing really to talk about, because I don't really have other people to talk about anything with, this is probably going to be like a tutorial kind of thing, basically a guide for those who are first playing the game, and basically what I would recommend doing as you play the game to kind of make your time easier. Now, let me see, I marked those already. Trying to think here. Now you see, this here is the first shrine we're gonna go to. There are a total of 120 shrines in the game, and they're basically your small, bite-sized dungeons, kind of, because a traditional trope in The Legend of Zelda is basically dungeons with bosses at the end, and those are basically your kind of, I don't know, what, plot MacGuffins? Did I mark this already? I did not. Okay. Wait. So, wait. Did I mark that already? I thought I saw it. Yes, I did. Wow. Okay, so basically I mark towers with star markers like this. I mark shrines with these kind of jewel markers, or whatever they are supposed to be. I find markers very useful, as I said before. Let me see. I remember being able to see another tower in between, like, 2 mountains or something, like these, known as the Dueling Peaks, which are basically also the name of the area they're in. But I don't know. Either way, we'll come to it eventually. This area, and this area are probably going to be your blind spots. So we'll worry about those later on. For now, we're just going to focus on these. Alright, so we have our map of the Grey Plateau here. We basically have all our main, what do you call them? You already have your main geographical landmarks already marked out, and some minor landmarks that you go to later on. Once you go there, then they will be marked out on your map. Basically, text showing where they are. And so I'm going to head down from the tower and go along my way. Now, wait, what? I climbed on top of this thing. Okay. Yeah, I think I remember my first death in Breath of the Wild when I first played this game was making the mistake of just jumping off the entirety of this tower and just dying like that. Now this old man here, he's basically going to be your main guide and your main to get off this plateau. So let's just see what he says. So, the treasure he was talking about in trade for the paraglider, which is how we will get off this mountain, is basically these 4 shrines here. So, let's see what he has to say about that. Alright, so we got our briefing. Let's head the hell over there. So, we need to get this paraglider in order to beat the game, to get through the rest of the game. So, likewise, we need to do these 4 shrines. And this is our first one. And now I've officially ran out of things to talk about. Each shrine has a name similar to this Omanao shrine, this is called. And there's 120 of these things all over Hyrule, and basically I'm going to get all of them. I'm going to beat all of them. Basically 100%, but not 100%, because there's still a lot of other things that would need to be done in order to achieve 100%. Okay, so this chest, it has the word EX on it. It has the letters EX on it. That's because it's DLC. So, basically, what we have to do each time is just open the shrine with the Sheikah Sleigh and head down an elevator that is opened with this door. We're getting Metroid in here, bitches. Now, if we weren't playing on Master Mode, this screen would be white instead of orange. But basically, every shrine presents some sort of challenge. Well, not every shrine, but most shrines. Most often than not, you'll find a trial, which requires either resourcefulness, combat skill, or just basically work with the gyroscope, or sometimes it just hands shit to you. Because I guess Nintendo ran out of ideas for shrines, considering there's 120 of the fucking things. So remember all those items you were able to get in past Zelda games that might as well be mandatory and useful? These are basically what they are in Breath of the Wild. Basically, you get your tools, your main tools for navigation and all that, and basically physics fuckery as well as manipulation of magnetic fields, as we are doing here. Oh, I forgot to turn gyroscope off. I'm sorry. But basically, as we saw, we were able to move a magnetic object. So, with magnesis. And basically, all these tools that we're given in these first 4 shrines of the game. And that's, I don't know, I guess some sort of tutorial mixed in with you making it mandatory to get these tools before beating the game. But now we came across our first kind of guardian, it's called. And these things are basically your small enemies in dungeons. But those aren't real guardians. They're... Well, let's first talk about what guardians are. Guardians are basically ancient robots, sort of things. They're ancient robot... well, they're ancient fighting robots. I don't know how to kind of describe them, but they they walk on multiple legs. They I don't really know how to describe them. I guess kind of robotic spiders, I guess. But either way, they're basically your fighting robots created by this ancient race that created all this technology and shit. The shrines, the towers, you name it. And this is actually the ancient Sheikah tribe. And this takes place, I think, I believe this takes place over 10,000 years after Twilight Princess. Those of you who are into the Zelda timeline, know, like, the kind of basic infrastructure of that fucked up timeline. And, this would basically take place over I know it's been way over 10,000 years after Twilight Princess. Get used to seeing loading screens, by the way. These things will pretty much pop up whenever you whenever you teleport to a new place, whenever uh, you complete a shrine or go into a shrine. They literally happen everywhere. So if you heard that, that was my washing machine. It is right next to my fucking door, and it's noisy and annoying, and I hate it. Alright, so instead of going up to the tower as he wants us to, how about I think I'm just going to do the other three shrines as he instructed me to do so. So basically, there are no repercussions for not obeying something that he says. You don't need to see every bit of tutorial. Let me see. I remember there being some sort of stash of arrows somewhere around here. Just arrows lying on the ground. So I don't think they're here. No, I don't really need them much anyway. But first, I think I'm going to try and get a weapon that's better than the rusty shit I have now. If I can find one. I'm going to try and sneak up to these guys and take them out. Now, crouching like this, you're going to want to do, like, when you're trying to sneak up to someone. It reduces noise, and you won't be able to do shit without crouching, basically, in terms of stealth. So, let's take this guy out. Oh. There's one out. Each monster drops parts that you can basically use for, like, elixirs and stuff. As you can see, those guys didn't have melee weapons, but they had bows and arrows, which would be useful. So, oh, okay, this is where that stash of arrows was, presumably shot by the two guys we killed before. Let me see where we are. We have to go over here. Basically, I'm just going in a clockwise kind of fashion. I'm going to go here and just do the shrine. And then I'm going to go over here. And then I'll first go back here to find a boar or something so I can cook up something that will increase my resistance to cold, because this is a high altitude to the point where it's too cold for human survival. So I'll do that, and then I'll head up here to this last shrine. It's been a half an hour already, and I was hoping to be able to do more than just the Grey Plateau in these 2 hours that I have to stream. And I might have accidentally attracted the attention of monsters over there. Okay, never mind. This is a rather boring stream. I'm literally just spitting out tutorial information about this game. I was really hoping that someone else had joined me for this shit. So basically, these are decayed guardians. They are they used to be guardians on 6 legs, large ones that can basically kill you in one hit. At this scenario, they can do like 12 hearts of damage. And if some of these you can search, if they're inactive, you can search for a part, but stuff like this is still active, as you can see when I walk up to it. So I'm going to want to avoid that, because that basically has the same power as the laser of a normal guardian, and you can still find guardians that aren't decayed elsewhere. Like over there at Hyrule Field, you can find quite a few of them. Now, before we do this shrine, let's go and get this DLC chest over here. And it's dumb. It's literally just some promotional Nintendo Switch t-shirt. But, basically, we're at another shrine. And this is where we will get our bombs, basically. Instead of conventional bombs that are disposable and we have to get more of them eventually, we get this remotely detonated bomb, which basically we can summon at any time except when we're climbing or something. And then we can carry it, throw it, and we can detonate it at any time. Instead of this short fuse, you can wait as long as you want, and then you can detonate it at your will. And that can be useful for certain puzzles. As you can see, when you press up on the D-pad or left buttons if you're playing it on the Switch, then you can select your runes. I used magnesis before, so now I'm going to use bombs. So basically, square bomb is better in most cases because it doesn't roll along the ground. You don't really want it to move much. So we found a chest in here. And that's probably going to be our strongest weapon that we'll get for a while, so I'm going to want to save that. Oh, damn it, too far. Now, when I first played Breath of the Wild, since I was playing Ocarina of Time before, I was surprised by the range of the explosion. So I did find myself the first time using the bombs just blowing myself up. And I was almost dead. So eventually you'll find these ores like amber or ruby, sapphire, stuff like that. You can sell those for more money. But I think if I'm correct, you can sell those like to some other person, like just a civilian you meet, like just walking around the town like a tourist in Goron City. And you can sell them to her for more money. And as you can see, I switched the square bomb out for these circular bombs, which you would use in those kind of pipes. I don't know why you wouldn't just put them on the platform, but basically, there are certain cannons that you can use in the game, but they need to be powered by those remote bombs. So these spirit orbs, you get one for each shrine. And basically, if you collect 4 of them, you can get either a heart container, which adds 1 heart to your current amount of health, or a stamina vessel, which adds basically a 1/5 of another stamina wheel to your amount of stamina, which is indicated by this green circle right here. And you can basically run, you can climb, you can swim. All of those make a dent in your stamina. So what I like to do when I'm running, I like to kind of periodically tap the B button instead of hold it down. Like what I'm doing right now instead of this. So I can just keep running forever, basically. Because you don't stop running right away. The physics are pretty much realistic to the point where you can friction does not kick in instantly. Now, as you can see, that thing right there, that motherfucker right there, it's part of a species called Lynel. Basically, these Lynels are literally your centaurs, basically monster centaurs, and they will fuck you up. I think that's the first time I've fallen down there. Whoa, what the fuck was that? Like, was just... Link's knee was just fucking the rocks. I don't know what that was. But, as you can see, every time we fall, we lose 1 heart. Basically, you can eat different shit like mushrooms, acorns, apples, and whatever you cook up or like along your journey, and you'll regain health. You can also make elixirs to buff certain stats like attack, defense, speed, and you can also cook up certain items that will temporarily increase your maximum health or stamina, and I find those to be very useful. Oh, okay. I want to be extra careful here because I don't want the Lionel to spot me. As you can see, he noticed something. And so I feel like... Okay, we're good. you really don't want the Lionel to notice you, especially this early in the game, because he will fuck you up. Like, I arguably the Lionel is definitely more threatening than like Guardian Stalkers, which are basically completely intact Guardians that will fuck you up whenever given the chance. But these Lionels will fuck you up worse. I'm just going to want to avoid him at all costs, because I tell you, it's not fun to get caught in his crosshairs. But yeah, we're past that, so, and we reached some sort of shack back here, which is basically where the old man from earlier lives. And we want to gather as many resources and shit as possible. As you can see, we have a torch here, a pot lid we can use as a shield. As you can see... No, that's the wrong button. There, that's our shield button. But I never really use my shield. So... These spicy peppers are... If you cook with these peppers, then you can... I'm trying to think. If you cook with these peppers, if you cook these peppers with meat, then you can create something that increases your resistance to the cold. Basically, there are, like, if you see the thermometer in the bottom right hand corner next to the map, then basically you can see a blue bar on the left and an orange bar on the right. That those indicate temperatures that you can't bear to live in. So they can be decreased by 2 tiers. As you can see, they're separated into 3 sections, but those 2 sections are what matter, like those 2 top sections. So basically, you can equip some sort of clothing that allows you to become more heat resistant or cold resistant, and you can also cook dishes or elixirs to make you more heat resistant or cold resistant. Another thing, let's say if you are hunting in the cold, if you let meat sit out for too long without collecting it, it will grow icy. Basically, it will freeze, and it will stay frozen forever. And then when you eat it, it raises your heat resistance. Basically, what I like to do here is I like to find a comfortable spot where I can restore some of my stamina while climbing. This isn't the best spot because you still slowly slide down, and eventually it will become steep enough to the point where you cannot restore your stamina. So I just try my best to find as many points as I can to restore my stamina mid-climb. And that's basically how I get to sometimes really stupidly, ridiculously large heights. As you can see, we're basically pretty high up right now compared to where we were a few minutes ago. And this is where we'll find our third shrine. Right now, I'm skipping my cutscenes and all, like, because you see that shit 120 times. You don't need to see it again, basically. So we have our third room coming up, which basically allows us to stop an item right in its tracks. Basically, you freeze the item, and then you can apply force to the item, like hit it with a weapon or something to store its potential energy. And when the time that rune is active runs out, all that potential energy becomes kinetic energy, and you can send that object flying somewhere else. And it does become quite useful at some points. For instance, something like this. You can freeze this gear in time to create a bridge at the right time. And you can also deactivate it at any time, but there is a default time limit. You cannot just let it sit there forever, unlike the bombs. So now, also these boulders here, we want to freeze them in time so we have enough time to get across without harming ourselves. And after that, I'm going to want to wait for my stasis to restore, and then I'll wait until this is passed, and then I'll freeze that in time so I can get this chest. Which has a traveler shield in it, which looks a lot similar to the Ordonian shield that you have in Zelda Twilight Princess. Actually, does it really look that similar? I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember too much from Twilight Princess. I haven't played it in a while. Either way, we have this iron sledgehammer here. So, this is a very effective weapon when it comes to beating shit that's frozen in time. So basically, we whack it multiple times to get this boulder out of the way. If you see the arrow glowing red like that, it's reached its maximum potential energy. And you saw it just went flying like a fucking bowling pin as the sound effect of a bowling pin just played. So, with that, the third shrine is finished. Alright, so now that we have these first 3 shrines done, I'm going to want to go back to this forest so I can find a boar or something to hunt. I mean, sure, I could just try and power my way through the cold section, but I'd still be wasting a bit of food sources. So it would be better if I just try and hunt for some meat so I can just not take damage in the cold. Well, let me see. Now, this forest is basically where we find our pigs and animals that we can get meat off of. So let's see if we can find something. Oh, what was going on with the camera there? Something was up with that. There was like a delayed input or something. I don't know what it was. Let me see. Oh, there's a bird that we can use. But I don't know. I might also want like some meat for the go, because I might run into something that I'll just barely survive. Just basically gather all the resources you can in case something bad happens. Better be safe than sorry. As I said when I first started playing this shit. Oh, I fucking hit it in the wrong spot. Oh, fuck that one. There's another one up ahead, I believe. Unless that ran away too. Or maybe I was just seeing things. Shit. Now, occasionally you'll find these little puzzles or like small little, I don't know what to call them, but either way, if you just figure out what to do in those circumstances, you'll basically run into a Korok, which will give you a seed. Basically, what the Koroks did was, like, they pranked one of their friends and took away his beloved maracas and took all the seeds out of them. So, basically, your job is to just get them all back. Whoa, what? This is not a good time to have my camera fuck things up. So now I would say we have enough meat to work with. So I'm going to go back to the shack. Try that for an out of context statement. So I'm going to go back to the old man's shack, and I'm going to make something that will keep us from getting damaged in the cold. It's been an hour right now, so I don't know how long the rest of it'll take, but I'll try my best to kind of minimize the time it takes to get the Grey Plateau done, because like the first few times I played the game, it took over an hour to get the Grey Plateau done because I was not really used to playing without any of the shit you get like throughout the game. I was not used to playing before I got all my heart containers. I basically just not used to being so vulnerable. Like, your style of gameplay changes a lot from the in between now and when we end the game. So, and that can be a bit jarring to those who are decide to start a new file. As in this case, normally I would just paraglide down to the old man's shack, but since I don't have the paraglider yet, I have to climb all the way down. I'm also going to be doing a few side quests as I complete this game. You know, for the sake of kind of making the rest of this game a bit easier. So, this is really all we need to last through the snow. So, I'm going to head back to the shrine and I'll start going to the last shrine. I'll cut this part out. Okay, so we need to go up here into the high altitudes where we will be fighting the cold. And now we've just... If you saw that flurry of blue shit around Link, that indicates that the environment just got too cold and you need to eat something or put on something that'll keep you warm. As you can see, I ran out of fucking stamina like a dope. So I have to wait for it to get back up. When you have low levels of stamina, don't be too reckless with your climbing. Slow and steady wins the race, because you can get farther just climbing normally than you would just climbing, just jump climbing, basically. As you can see, that gave me 3 minutes of cold resistance, which should be plenty of time in order for me to get from point A to point B. But I have to go do that as quickly as possible, because I just fell down that cliff like a dumbass. I was just checking to see if anyone was watching the stream. Now, there are many different types of mushrooms, each with its own, kind of ability, except for the Hyrule Shrooms, which basically do nothing. They just restore health. By the way, they can become useful if you're just trying to make your way through the game. Not really. I mean, you can... if you cook an item, you can get more health out of it. And if you cook, something that... basically, if you find an item that has the prefix hearty in front of it, that means that if you cook it, you can make some sort of concoction that increases your maximum health. So now we need to worry about climbing this cliffside, because I don't want to bother running into those monsters on the other side of the mountain. Now, with those bomb arrows I picked up before, that should be all of the, all of the DLC chests in the Grey Plateau. Of course, I'll find the rest of the DLC, because I find the Phantom Armor that you get as DLC useful for, when I'm doing tests of strength and all that. Alright, so this is our last room, which is basically Cryonis. Basically, what it does is you select an area, and it freezes a pillar of water in the area you selected, and which you can use to navigate oceans. You can use it to get up to higher places. Occasionally, you can use it to scale waterfalls before you get a clothing item that lets you do that same thing. And it also lets you open gates if there's water underneath it. Basically, wherever there's a coating of water, you can use Cryonis for. Sorry, my throat is kind of getting a bit dry, so... Now, the Guardians like this shit are... I hate these things. Like, particularly in Master Mode, because, like, they don't look like it, but they did buff them up. And, like that, I don't want... I don't want a Guardian to hit me. As you can see, I legitimately almost died. Hang on. There's something going on with the stream. Yes, I am showing. I'm sorry about that. I'm back. I don't know why I just randomly went offline. Either way, we're practically almost done with this shrine, and I'm just going to try my best to avoid the Guardian again, so that I might be able to not die. Like, it would be great to get through this without dying on the Grey Plateau. Like, because it may not look like it. Like, the Grey Plateau is just your tutorial section, but it will kick your ass if you're not careful. Especially if you're not used to being in such a vulnerable state. And with that, that's all of the shrines in the Grey Plateau, yes. I think I'm starting to get to the point where it's getting harder and harder for me to... what do you say? It's getting harder and harder for me to assess my thoughts and kind of get them together into a phrase that I say. But... basically, quite a bit of this is going to be, what do you call it? Quite a bit of this is going to be kind of, plot exposition. Now it's getting to the point where I can't find the right words for shit. Yes, the old man is the ghost of Christmas present. Anyway, so basically what the old man said was, imagine an X connecting the shrines, and where the two lines intersect is where you will meet the old man who will tell you everything. So so we're going to head to the Temple of Time in this case. So let's truck over there. Alright, so the Temple of Time. Now, basically, one reason why we're here now is because the old man told us to, but the main reason we want to be here, because fuck plot exposition, is, well, I mean, you're going to get the paraglider for the old man, but we are also going to get, now that we have 4 spirit orbs, from like one from each of the shrine, we have to pray to a statue of the goddess Hylia, which is basically god of Hyrule, and we want to get a heart container now instead of a stamina vessel, because our first priority in hard mode should be uh, getting as much health as you can so that you won't get your ass kicked. As you can see, we now have one more heart than before. And by the end of this playthrough, we're going to have 27 hearts. So let's get up on the roof, I guess. Now on ladders, if you run out of stamina, well, I mean, unlike climbing, you use stamina when you leap up ladders, but you do not use stamina when you just climb ladders, unlike climbing on rocks or something.
Well done there, young one.
So that when,
Time has
if you run out of stamina, you can still climb the ladder. You don't just slide down and fall off.
I was the last leader of
So now let's listen to what King Rome Bosphorus Hyrule has to say.
The great calamity was merciless. It devastated everything in its path. Lo, a century ago. It was then that my life was taken away from me. And since that time, here I have remained in spirit form. I did not think it wise to overwhelm you while your memory was still fragile. So rather than that, I thought it best to assume a temporary form. Forgive me. I think you are now ready. Ready to hear what happened 100 years ago. To know Calamity Ganon's true form, one must know the story from an age long past. The Demon King was born into this kingdom, but his transformation into malice created the horror you see now. Stories of Ganon were passed from generation to generation in the form of legends and fairy tales. But there was also a prophecy. The signs of a resurrection of Calamity Ganon are clear, and the power to oppose it lies dormant beneath the ground. We decided to heed the prophecy and began excavating large areas of land. It wasn't long before we discovered several ancient relics made by the hands of our distant ancestors. These relics, the divine beasts, were giant machines piloted by warriors. We also found the Guardians, an army of mechanical soldiers who fought autonomously. This coincided with ancient legends, oft repeated throughout our land. We also learned of a princess with a sacred power, and her appointed knight, chosen by the sword that seals the darkness. It was they who sealed Ganon away, using the power of these ancient relics. 100 years ago, there was a princess set to inherit a sacred power, and a skilled knight at her side. It was clear that we must follow our ancestors' path. We selected 4 skilled individuals from across Hyrule and tasked them with the duty of piloting the divine beasts. With the princess as their commander, we dubbed these pilots champions, a name that would solidify their unique bond. The princess, her appointed knight, and the rest of the champions were on the brink of sealing away Ganon. But nay. Ganon was cunning, and he responded with a plan beyond our imagining. deep below Hyrule Castle, seize control of the Guardians and the divine beasts, and turn them against us. The champions lost their lives, those residing in the castle as well. The appointed knight, gravely wounded, collapsed while defending the princess. And thus, the kingdom of Hyrule was devastated absolutely by Calamity Ganon. However, the princess survived to face Ganon alone.
Link, you are our final hope. The fate of Hyrule rests with you.
That princess was my own daughter, my dear Zelda. And the courageous knight who protected her right up to the very end. That knight was none other than you, Link. You fought valiantly when your fate took an unfortunate turn. And then, you were taken to the Shrine of Resurrection. Here you now stand, revitalized 100 years later. The words of guidance you have been hearing since your awakening are from Princess Zelda herself. Even now, as she works to restrain Ganon from within Hyrule Castle, she calls out for your help. However, my daughter's power will soon be exhausted. Once that happens, Ganon will freely regenerate himself, and nothing will stop him from consuming our land. Considering that I could not save my own kingdom, I have no right to ask this of you, Link. But I am powerless here. You must save her, my daughter, and do whatever it takes to annihilate Ganon. Somehow, Ganon has maintained control over all 4 divine beasts, as well as those guardians swarming around Hyrule Castle. I believe it would be quite reckless for you to head directly to the castle at this point. I suggest that you make your way east out to one of the villages in the wilderness. Follow the road out to Kakariko Village. There you will find the Elder Impa. She will tell you more about the path that lies ahead. Consult the map on your Sheikah Sleigh for the precise location of Kakariko Village. Make your way past the twin sites of the dueling peaks. From there, follow the road as it proceeds north.
Oh, fuck sleep mode. Okay, so we have 35 minutes to kind of make up for, like, in order, so, oh god, I can't speak. So we have 35 minutes to make this part not literally just the Grey Plateau. So we got our paragliders, so now we are able to do shit here. Oh yes, we are now able to do shit like this. Basically, paragliding also depletes our stamina, but it's probably going to be your main form of travel. I mean, it's pretty much as fast as running, so I try to use it a lot so that I can, what's the word? So I can minimize travel time, because I can imagine there will be quite a bit of time where I'm just going to be walking and, like, with really nothing to talk about. So I feel like maybe in the YouTube playback I might skip those kind of times. Or maybe not. But basically we have a chest here left to us by the King of Hyrule. It's basically a shirt to keep us warm. and it's just a shirt to prevent us from taking damage from the cold. But now that we have gotten our wings, it's time to leave the nest. So we need to head off the Grey Plateau and start doing shit. First, I need to find a good place to glide from. See, the Dueling Peaks is going to be our first stop. We're going to start doing shit there. I'll do the shrines first, and then I'll go after plot shit and all that. And the Lionel's still there, so I don't want to fuck with him. Oh, turning around. Oh, damn it, he saw me. Ooh. Okay, if we fall off, we don't need to worry about falling. I mean, because we have our paraglider, but you need to press X first before you can use it. So, I mean, you can actually fall and die off this cliff. And it wouldn't act just like any normal... let's see what that is. That would be a star fragment. They drop occasionally. So let's go check that out on our way to the tower. Alright, so now that we're off the Grey Plateau, this is where the game really opens up. You can literally do whatever the fuck you want at this moment in time. Like, you can even go to the final boss right here and now, if you want to. As you can see, monsters will fuck you up quite easily, as they did for me. I mean, if you can see that. Hey, get your ass back here. Oh, fucking hell. Even then, these are the easy monsters. The only reason I'm not fucked up now, the only reason I'm not dead now is because these assholes are Stalkoblins or whatever the hell they're called. They're skeletons, which are the easiest, basically the easiest monster to deal with, besides Keese, which are literally bats. As you can see, there's a horde of them right there. You do want to watch out for them in hordes, but alone, they're literally no threat. But if you kill one, that'll kind of set an example, and the others don't want to deal with that shit, so... And I think I might have lost the location of that star fragment as I was fighting the Stalkoblins there. So that would have been 300 rupees down the... Oh, never mind, there it is. Just need to get there before that little beacon stops glowing or whatever. Gonna want to mark it just in case. And actually, the tower for the Dueling Peaks is not too far from that location, so... Now, most of the time you'll see me ignoring Stalgoblins, or, like, any Stalfos creature along those lines. Because, really, they're not a threat at all. I mean, let's say, if you want equipment, if you're running short on equipment, then they would be a good choice for you to get something not too big. Oh. The fragment landed on a bit of a hill. I don't know if it rolled down or anything. As you can see, it's right there. It has a sort of a ring to it. Oh, I didn't even notice. The star fragment doesn't even materialize until you're close enough for the beacon to go away. Huh. Never knew that. Let me see. We have a half an hour still to kind of do shit. However, I'm still going to be spending a bit of time marking the locations of shrines here once I climb the tower. Now, gusts of wind like this allow you to paraglide without losing altitude as well. So, those can be really useful if you're trying to get from point A to point B by air. And faster than you normally would while walking. As you can see, Cryonis, I usually use it to cross oceans like this. Well, this would be a small river, but you can use it to get places, basically. But I believe I also heard a monster horn like that, so I'm gonna want to run the hell away. Oh, shit, there's more of them. Right, so with this, we are now going to start climbing the tower. And basically all you need to do is avoid any hazards that you might come across while climbing the tower, and you just need to get to the top and insert the Sheikah Sleigh into the pedestal. And that's literally how you fill up your map. And you have to do that 14 times, not counting the Grey Plateau, because you don't really climb that. It's literally just shown to you. Now that I have the tower marked on my map, I'm going to get rid of the stamp. As you can see, this is the top of the tower. The fuck kind of technology is this where data comes in forms of blue drops of whatever it is? I don't know, highly ionized water or something like that? Anyway, this is the Dueling Peaks region here, which I'm going to look at a map online to map all the shrines in it. So I guess fast forward here? Well, actually, no, not here. Because we also have an added function, which is basically the Sheikah sensor, which you can search for shrines. I turn it off because it's fucking annoying, and I have this map here. So, in short, fuck that. So if you want to hear that noise every half a second, then keep it on. But I do not recommend. So I'm just going to turn that off. Just mark locations for shrines and all. There's a total of 9 shrines in the Dueling Peaks. And, I mean, let me see here. I'm just marking every single one because fuck trying to find them. And I've ran into way too many times on my first playthrough where I did in fact need a guide. And as you can see, we're still missing one more that I need to mark. So if I can find that, then yes, it's right here. Right about here. So I think we're going to take care of this shrine first, because it's the closest. Let me see. Oh shit. See, when your bow breaks or you run out of stamina, you just fall. But yes, if you try to draw a bow on an enemy in midair, you will slow things down. It's like reflex mode in Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm just kind of checking the stream to make sure I'm still streaming here. I'm still a bit paranoid, considering that I went offline, like, during that last shrine. Alright, so Ridahi Shrine. There is an item here that I'm going to want to get that's in a chest, because climbing's a pain in the ass and this item will speed up climbing. So this will be a great improvement. Yeah, most of your shrines are puzzles like this, which basically you have to use certain resources and certain methods, largely involving your runes, to complete some sort of task in order for you to physically get to the end of the shrine, which is marked as that that room that the monk is in. Like, whatever that dried out E.T. monk was. I mean, it literally looks like an anorexic it looks like the anorexic child of E.T. and a Sangheili. Ah, damn it, just barely. No, that wasn't good enough. Oh. Too late. I never had this much trouble with it before. What? Yeah, there are some moments in shrines where I tend to just, I mean, what? Because, let me see. I believe I can take these barrels with magnesis. Then I can carry them over here. Like this. And then I'm going to get back up to the platform. And grab and put it on the platform so I can get this chest, which is that climbing enhancement item I was talking about earlier. There we go. Okay, it just started moving. I'm gonna have to wait a minute. I hate when that shit happens. Now the climber's bandana. There's a whole set of climbing gear, so you can increase your climbing speed by 3 tiers. Like, one of those climbing items is the bandana we just got, one is a shirt, and one is a pair of pants. And the climbing gear I find to be very useful because I tend to traverse a lot of rugged terrain and climb a lot of shit, you know, for exploration's sake and to kind of speed up the process of traveling along land. So by the end of this playthrough, I'm going to have all 120 shrines completed, all divine beasts reclaimed, and I'm going to then fight Ganon. So I'm basically doing everything in this game besides side quests and Koroks, because fuck Koroks. So I think I'm going to go to this shrine right here by climbing up here and paragliding, because there is spikes guarding, like spikes or something guarding the shrine. So I'm just going to climb above. I'm just going to climb the mountain to the point where I can paraglide to it. Now, as you can see, all these side quests, these appear because they're DLC, and it sucks. I mean, I'm going to get them, but I'm not going to use the sources and hints it gives me. I'm just going to use the guide. Just make things a lot easier for your viewing convenience. So you can see there's a whole party of bokoblins there. I don't want to interrupt what they're doing because I'm a weak piece of shit. Yes, streams like this, stuff like Breath of the Wild hard mode, and playthroughs like this, I'm always going to do in the summer on Wednesdays. So, I mean, that. Yeah, the summer on Wednesdays. So, I'm going to do a different game each year, and I'm going to. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to do any longer games because next summer, basically a year from now, I'm going to be transitioning from high school to college, which means I'm going to have a 2 month long summer because high school ends in June and college starts in August. So I'm probably going to pick a shorter game to do in that time period. And after that, basically from between May and from May to August, I would be streaming uh, a game that can be influenced by popular demand, and if no one wants to lend an idea, I'll just try and think of something. As you can see, I can basically scale waterfalls with this. And now I kind of hate this puzzle right here because you need to you need to figure out how to position uh your Cryonis blocks just right. Shit. uh But yeah, the orbs won't stop coming, and you can easily just do that, assuming that. All right, I need to. All right, I need to catch it when it's like this. That way, I. Oh, damn it! Uh. So I need to be able to make it so it stays at a higher altitude. Or maybe I have to make it so it stays at the same altitude. Yeah, no, that won't work. Maybe I'll just add some sort of stepping stone for the orb to... yes, that is exactly what I needed to do. And there is a chest right there. So I'm guessing I'm just supposed to scale the... Yeah, I'm supposed to scale the waterfall to get it. Oh, shit. And eventually, dumbass things like that will take their toll. And... Alright, so I think after this shrine, I'm going to either run past the 2 hour mark or I have to cut it a few minutes short. So, yeah, I think this will be it, and then I'll continue my stream on, next week, next Wednesday. So, I'll remember where we're at. We have 2 spirit orbs, and I'll pick it back up where exactly we left off today. So I hope you all enjoyed this stream. I hope you're excited for the next Breath of the Wild streams. And I'll see you on this Saturday for just more of me sucking at video games. So I'll see you then.